just about sailing September. There might be another one in September because this is quite early. So what I'm going to do in this one, there's a lot of preparatory work a bit of it's been going on and a bit of it's happened over the last few days. So if you like continuity errors in films and things, there's loads of continuity errors here, so hopefully this makes sense as I've had to stitch a few bits and pieces together. So a few jobs that need preparing for. Oh, by the way, first of all, thank you for all the comments for part one of doing the anchor locker and the chain. Lots of different opinions, all of them good. I'm sure all of them would work. So as I say, never copy me with these things that I do. Always read the comments. A lot of questions about should I put an automatic bilge pump in the chain locker. I'm sure that would work. I'm actually going to put a seacock in, one of these ones that's sort of the seacock and the through hull at the same time. Don't know if you can see that. And part of the reason for doing that is quite simply because I've got one. This has got a 90-degree on it, and I was going to use this for the inlet for the heads, but I've decided that if it is blocked, it's much better to have a straight through one. So that's kind of surplus to requirements. That's part of the reason I'm using that. So what I'm going to do today is, or look at today, is four things. First of all, I need to get the rigging done, and to get that done I need to get the mast from where it is. I need to put it on a couple of sawhorses so that it's at a height that I can work on. And also the grab rails on the top of Serenity are all a bit rotten, so I need to take those off, inspect them, see what I need to do about those. And then also I wanted to start the engine up for various reasons I'll talk about in a minute, and I also need to get the rudder back on because Mads has done his now. I was waiting for that. I wasn't going to do anything until Mads has done his, so I'm looking to do that now. So let's start off with, uncharacteristically, but this is becoming more and more of a theme, doing some woodwork. One of the things I've been doing is getting some wood in. So here's some 12mm ply. I think I've got 3 sheets of that. That's mainly for the chain locker and stuff that I'm going to do there. But there's other projects that I'm going to be using with that. I bought some lovely Iroko. This is the kind of teak substitute. I don't think it's used so much in the States, but we use it a lot in Europe and the UK. Some big bits of that, so I'll show what I'm going to be using that for later. And I've got some lengths of 2B4B2B, and I will be actually doing the little project on that now, which is key to bizarrely getting the rigging done. So anyway, let's get on with the rest of this video. So just in case you'd forgotten, the mast has been hanging in this Dutch barn for quite a while. It's sort of just above head height, so it's very easy to get to, but it's not very easy to work on. So what I need to do is to take this down and put it on a couple of stands, sort of those what do they call them? Saw down things, can't remember what they're called. Sawhorses, yeah, a couple of sawhorses. So I thought I'd make my own. Right, so I ordered the 2B4B2B in 2.4 metre lengths. I ideally wanted each bit to be a yard long, but I didn't want to have any waste, so these are actually 80 centimetres, which is a bit lower than I wanted, but it doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is just cut these up into a load of lengths. Right, so I now have 15 pieces, 80 centimetres long each. I only need 14, but the last one is for some odd bits and pieces that I want to do just to strengthen these things up. I'm not going to show how to build this in detail, by the way, because there are more videos on YouTube about how to build a cheap, simple sawhorse than there are about how to install a cheap Chinese diesel heater, and I'm not doing this quite the same as some of the other people. And it's probably a little bit too cheap and cheerful, but hey ho, as long as it works. Simple I-beam, and then these are just, I've not even screwed these on yet. The I-beam is screwed together with a couple of screws. So I'm just going to screw these on as they are. I'm not going to finish them at all, and then I'll probably just put a little fillet of epoxy or something just to make it stronger than not that I particularly need to. And that'll do. And that's surprisingly strong even without any screws in it. Right, this is solid, and that's just with the screws in. I might put a couple of epoxy fillets in, probably don't need to. and that was really simple. I've got some wood left to do the other one, and not quite as tall as I would have liked, but it just made a lot more sense to cut the wood up equally, and that'll do fine for the mast to sit on. And it's actually, no, that's quite a nice height, and then that's a nice height to sort of work on everything. So literally a few months ago, doing a woodworking project like this would have petrified me, and now I regard this as fairly trivial, which it is. So there you go. Oh, by the way, it's not wobbly because of the legs, it's wobbly because of the ground. That's my excuse, I'm sticking to it. Right, just a final bit on this. I've decided I'm not going to epoxy it. I thought I'd make myself the challenge of only screwing it together. So what I've done is I've put in an extra support piece there, which is screwed in with 3 long screws. These screws are enormous, by the way, and they're supposedly weatherproof, but I'm going to weather, you know, they're obviously not stainless. But so I put this bit down here, and the trigonometry, people who understand trigonometry will realise that the bit I cut off there fits exactly in there. So again, I've screwed that through, so that's kind of solidified that bit. So there's an awful lot, much too much. This really is overdoing it. But anyway, I thought I'd show you that. I'm not epoxying it simply because then I can dosh a load of waterproofing stuff on it today and save a day. So that's the last I'm going to say about the construction of my sawhorse. Will this just unscrew? Don't know. Oh yes. Right, so the second one wasn't so easy. And I decided to take the bolts off from the inside. This very last bolt I've taken off, and it's the only one where there's actually water dripping out, so the wood in there is got to be absolutely sodden and soggy. And this is a cord part of the deck. Not all of the deck is cord, and I do have the plans which show me which bits are where, but obviously this needs to be sorted out. That should be relatively simple to do that small bit. Hopefully it's not too big an area, don't know, but that is for another day. So I've taken the bolts off from the underneath. I've taken most of the screws out. One of them, the head sort of broke off a little bit, so I had to sort of knock it up from the inside. I'm hoping this is now just going to lift off. Well, the one with the head's broken off is not. I haven't done it. Not too bad, but this wood, it's in awful condition. Some of the screws I couldn't get out. It's in awful condition, so now that I've got over my fear of woodwork, I can make another one of these, or another 2 of these, can't I? So there are a couple of places where these had broken off. These are broken off before I took the handrail off, so I kind of knew that it was weak and feeble. So it's no great surprise that I've got to replace it. But I am going to glue these back on, not because I'm going to reuse it, but simply then it gives me the shape. It's easy to copy, because then I'm literally just going to copy the shape on these using teak, or whatever the modern equivalent of teak is. Completely over the top. I'm doing this with epoxy. I'm even wetting it out. I have even cleaned it with acetone, whereas I'm sure a good dollop of PVA would do just fine, but hey ho, there's never any harm in practicing with epoxy. So I've got a few epoxy jobs coming up soon. And this is the consistency of really thick peanut butter, which is absolutely fine. This line here that's the newest crack. That fell off a couple of years ago. I've only got around to, but I've only just noticed this. If you can see this where I'm running this along now, that's a previous crack where this has come right off, and that's been glued back on. So as you can see, the grain is definitely going across because there is a slight curve to this. So is that simply because of the age of it? Is it an inherently bad design? I'd say it's possibly a bit of both, because if you have an inherently bad design, the material eventually gives up. So I will think about this and see if there's a way of getting around this or not. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud, which is why I'm talking slowly, because I think slowly. So here we go. I've ordered some Iroko, which is sort of what a lot of people use instead of teak, which is very expensive, particularly in the UK and Europe. And basically I'm going to I won't do this in this video, but I'm going to make a new pair of these handrails simply by cutting this out, by routering it and literally making it exactly the same. I got these pre-planed so that the finish is quite nice on the top and the bottom, although obviously I will sand it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. That should be nice. And I was thinking of putting wood skin on it, but I probably won't seal it at all. Anyway, so that's 2 bits of woodwork. Other things that I wanted to do, which we'll look at now, is I wanted to start the engine, partly because I think I've only started it once since she came out of the water to do the initial winterization. But secondly, I want to get a sound check, so that if I do put insulation, I want to see what difference it makes. And I'm thinking of putting in a calorifier, so I will need a way of actually running the engine for a long time whilst Serenity's out of the water, and I don't want to do that thing of putting a hose in it and so on. So anyway, we'll look at that, starting the engine. And then because Mads has now done it, it's time to start thinking about putting the rudder back on. So I had to dig a hole. And basically, unfortunately, the video didn't work, so you won't see me doing the hard work of actually digging the hole. But that was really a lot of sweat. So we'll have a look at that towards the end, then have a wrap up. And yeah, let's go on and see if this engine, which hasn't been started for at least 2 years, starts up or not. Again, a very windy day, so I've got the dead cat on and I should do some post-processing. I've got a bucket hanging underneath where the exhaust comes out, a pipe going down into it, and the pipe goes all the way along to where the water gets sucked through, and I put that on with some very, very strong tape. Whether or not that's going to hold it, it's also wedged in quite firmly. Whether or not that's going to work, I don't know. We shall soon find out. I've checked the oil, I've checked the fan belt tension, etc. And I'm just sort of topping this up with water just to kind of fill the pipes, but there shouldn't be any problem with it. Assuming the impeller is alright. Oops, too much. There shouldn't be any problem with it sort of sucking it through. So ages since I last started this. Let's see if it starts at all. I think I probably need to put the bucket a little bit higher up, because as you can see, some of it's splashing out. There is absolutely no leakage whatsoever from this rather dodgy joint. So I've let that tick over for a bit. I'm just going to check that the water hasn't got too hot, which it hasn't, and then just give it a few revs and call that it for a day. And I will do it for longer at some point and change the oil. That's probably still colder than you'd want to swim. So there we are, I've literally just put the bucket a little bit higher. I think that should work very well. I shall get some new oil and just give it an oil change. I won't video that because that was the main thing. And as I say, my absolute shame is that is the first time, I think it's the first time I've started the motor since I've taken Serenity out of the water. I might have done it once, you know, with that thing where you put the hose pipe inside the boat and top it up, but I think that was the first time. It started first time on the button. Perfect. Right, so that's another excuse off the list. The hole has been dug, the hole is there, the dirt will need to be put back up, and Lucy's ready to do the rudder, yeah?
Yeah.
With your muscles. Oh, hang on. Plan B. So yeah, I need to get the bushes made. I haven't had the bushes made yet. Lucy just offered to put the rudder back and she said, is it really heavy? So we shall see. She's not the strongest person in the world.
Got it. You don't need to film the whole way.
Well, I might have to speed it up.
You're right. Why is it so heavy? So this is a break. Shut up.
Did you just be so rude on my YouTube channel? I can't believe it. I have to blank that out.
What?
I wasn't watching.
I said shut up.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, well done. I didn't think you'd be able to do that.
Kind of waddle walking.
Watch the roof, it's quite tall.
I'm trying.
You know you are. You always have been. It's geometry. Remember what they taught you at school?
Last time I ever knifed you and do you a favour.
You said that so many times.
Oh.
Yeah, watch the ceiling. Remember that bit?
I'm tired now. I need
It's got to go to the corner.
My sunglasses have fallen off.
Well, don't step on them. Yeah, so the moral of this is if your rudder does drop off, it's probably going to end up at the bottom of the sea pretty quickly. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Indistinguishable from
Spaghetti. Actually, part of the reason why I haven't done the rudder yet is that I bought some Delrin, which I understood to be the best thing to make rudder bushes out of, because unlike nylon, it's not supposed to expand in the water. So I bought some Delrin to have sorted out. Now I've read a few things to say that Delrin is possibly not the best thing to use. So feel free to comment below as to what material you think is best to have the bushes made out of. I mean, I think all this stuff is fairly easy to work on, but I don't want to put it in and then it expands and then the rudder starts to stick. So anyway, that's it for this month. Lucy is going to start doing some work to get the V-berth cleaned out, all the glue and stuff. Right, she won't be able to hear me because she's got music on. Lucy is doing the first stage, which is to sort of scrape off the the old gooey, sticky, horrible glue, and then she gets to the fun stage, which is to use the angle grinder with a specific attachment, and then she gets to eat a bar of chocolate. Right, so let's leave her in peace, and I will go and do the hard work of editing this video, try and make it make sense, which is pretty much impossible. Part 2 of the getting the windlass in will possibly be the next one, possibly the one after, I don't know. And obviously the rigging is going to happen, the getting the handrails and all that sort of stuff. So there's plenty of things going on. Hopefully I'll get something out before the end of September, but who knows. And the weather is very pleasant at the moment. This is absolutely perfect weather for doing some epoxy work, and I feel the need after all that would work to do some epoxy work. So stay safe, hope you're well, and I shall see you in the next video. Cheers.